He didn't get to have his opinions.
Whew. Yeah.
Well, then nobody
I wish
would watch.
people didn't sometimes, but here we are. So, speaking of opinions, boy howdy, are we going to get in trouble for that? So,
Yay! Shitting on other people's theories.
Yeah,
it is really fun.
Which I would just like to say, it other than our palpable disgust, it's mostly done in good fun, right? So
pure disgust for me.
We're too
I'm
close to
already
starting
mad at the
time.
director, and I was going to try and get it out in the pre-show, but I decided it was going to be way better to be live for that. So
Sadly, we've gone live. Otherwise, I had a story.
I didn't start reading this list just because I wanted to be fresh angry.
Oh yeah, all you got to do is get to the second grayed out bullet point or whatever. You know, be like, so Mac is Rasheed's retired predecessor. It's like some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. I got you started. You can have the rest of them, but
it's all about timing when you're going to use that line. Must be at the perfect moment.
We're going back to TV tropes because that was too much fun just to be able to see your faces in pain of all these dumb ideas. So going to continue that and looking at the character page of the wild mass guesses, and I'm going to start from backwards forwards. So we're starting with all of the mortals or random people and then build our way up to Harry. And the first mortal apparently on the list is Mac.
Yay.
And the first bullet point is Mac
He's not mortal.
Merlin.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a sub point is Mac is Uriel, which is ridiculous.
Closer.
But it's still close. Yeah, right.
I like how specific the prediction is. We will specifically find out when he's asked to store Americas, and he will make a vague comment. Like that's specifically when we will learn it.
Mm-hmm. Listen, if you're gonna shoot your shot, you might as well just go balls.
You might as well just be like that. That's where it happens.
That's cheating, though, right? Like, if I'm a time traveler and I come back to TV tropes and post wild guesses and cheat, how fucking specific do you gotta be? Mac's gonna store Amarakius, so he's gonna be like, oh, it's just the same weight as I remember. What would be his comment? And
well, it doesn't really help with the Merlin thing since he's an angel, so they've used it for the wrong thing anyway.
Yeah. Well, Merlin was an angel; he could be two.
Right, that's true. Yes.
How many mantles is Mac wearing?
68, almost as many as Rasheed Odin.
That's what we should do. That's our next topic. All right. We're gonna rank characters in the Dresden Files by how many mantles that they've worn, right?
I'm gonna be sick of that thing.
11 teen popped collars. It's the perfect winter, fall, discussion group.
It's that meme of Joey from Friends. Could I be wearing any more mantles?
Right.
I mean, I like how there's some EG on TV tropes, which just makes a bullet point below this theory, and it's like ... no.
Yeah. Right. They don't stick to anything reasonable because that person goes on to say, well, Celtic mythology suggests that Mac is the minor god at Casbel. I have no idea if I'm saying that right.
I mean, that one holds more water than he is the original Merlin. There's more references and possible hints that he could have been that than Merlin.
Yes. Apart from the word of Jim that said he's not a god or a scion of the gods. But yes.
Yes. Right. At least I can see
People
how
pick and choose when they care about that.
I can see how you could arrive at something like that by what happens and what is said in the story and who he is.
Yeah, it's also, I think a lot of people are looking for a more concrete Celtic, because we've had the hints of things, but nothing's really ever been, apart from the Tuatha, and as far as the main characters go, it's never been 100% confirmed, really. So people are just kind of looking for that.
Mav and Titania don't count enough?
Well, but again, it's not like you don't have the specific name of the thing that they are, and it's still mostly wrapped up in the fairy stuff. People want the concrete, is she the Morrigan? Is she this, I mean, it's there, but it's not.
It's not written out in large enough letters for them. Okay. So the person who agrees with this idea that it could be Merlin's like, yes, he could well be Merlin because Macanalis has wood paneling and the myths of Merlin has him being embalmed in a living tree. Staying close to Demonreach might also be a good plan because he's a watcher, so that's worth watching. Listen. Also, the number 13 in the pub reflects the 12 Knights of the Round Table plus Arthur himself.
Yeah, fuck? I mean, listen, people don't build houses out of wood unless they are ancient wizards. It's just
Right.
not what they did.
I too am an ancient powerful being that was entombed in a tree.
I mean, people just really reach sometimes when they get an idea. It's like, okay, so I like this idea. How do I make it happen?
Yes.
That's the problem, though, right? Like they go, and it's cognitive dissonance, right? And your cognitive biases are real playing here. So, like that's where getting into some of this can be fun from like the armchair psychologist point of view too, because it's like, holy crap, leaps of logic. Like they don't realize they're making it because they're in that stream of consciousness. But when you take a step back and you look elsewhere, you're like, holy cow, did you go to town trying to justify that? Which is why, like, one of our golden rules and what we try to do is freaking source it in the material, man. Like, if it doesn't have a shred, like, if there isn't a single word in the works that supports your theory, that's a wild ass guess, right? Like, at what point from any of the material and any of the 24 words that Mac has said in 15 books has he given you the idea that he is some ancient being that's entombed in a tree? What? Yeah, but like, not to mention Mackinally's is half underground, right? So he's in a root cellar, if anything, not the tree. I don't know.
I think that's that's a valid way to how to approach it. Like that's how we do it. If you were to say that to a person who, for example, thinks the number 13 in his pop reflects the 12 knights and Arthur himself. Like he would then argue probably, it is reflected in the text. It's right here. It's 13 pillars that clearly reflects the Knights of the Round Table, 12 people plus Arthur. Can't you see it? Don't you see that makes perfect sense?
Was there actually a number on the Knights of the Round Table? Because I thought it would either change drastically or was never really specified.
It's like Knights of the Round Table's folklore, so I'm pretty sure it varies drastically.
There are several dozen named at some point. There's I think maybe 10 to 13 of the ones that are generally always there, your Galaheads, your Lancelots, your so on and so forth. But there's 42 knights that have been named as part of that at some point in time.
A lot of knights are considered to be the same person, but different names. So it's it's hard. If you want, I guess the most consistent is
there are it's not, a lot of people are at least under the impression that it's 12. So it's like of the round table, right? They might be like his core retinue or something. But like Andreas said, when we went and researched Arthur lore, like it literally flips back and forth at times, right? Like how many times? That's why it's hard to be like, oh, is Mab so and so, and this person's that person, because at different points in the story, like at different centuries, that person is completely fucking different. Even though it's the same name and they basically do the same things, but sometimes they're Arthur's daughter, sometimes they're his lover, his sister. I mean, shit, it's the 400s. Like she could have been his mother, daughter, lover, sister. Like who knows? But
she's my sister, my daughter, my sister, my daughter.
And then you have to account for whatever spin Jim is going to put on it because the stuff is always
he's
so wonky.
It's in his style to put some spin.
Yeah,
on
no, it's in his. It's what he would do.
So. Wikipedia said it does list the 12 knights, but then here's a list of other knights mentioned being Knights of the Round Table, and then it can range anywhere from 12 to 150. So, I mean, I think Jim would play both sides, right? Like 12 plus Arthur is a really nice magical number because we've seen that a couple of times, but then he's going to be realistic and be like, but there were actually like 150, but imagine having a giant ass round table sitting 150 knights. Like those weren't the Knights of the Round Table per se; they were Arthur's knights or whatever,
Just doesn't sound as good.
Yeah, and then the Winchester Round Table shows 25 knights. I don't know why that's significant, but that's there too. So, but anyway, we're not going to get bogged down on this one thing.
Yeah, that would totally not be something we do.
Right.
The next thing, as Justin said earlier, is Mac is Rasheed's retired predecessor. And I don't know what the fuck they mean by that. They say, because that he who walks before recognized Mac and then dismissed him, therefore he has to have been important, and that means he was the previous gatekeeper. And that is because Mac hasn't aged, therefore he has a wizard's lifespan, but he doesn't cast any spells. But I could just see him setting his powers aside.
I mean, sure, they maintain vitality And generally, at some point when they get pretty old, they kind of stop in the books, like Ebenezer, Ancient Mai, etc. They look. Mac is like kind of ageless. Like he looks like he could be from 30 to 60, right?
Something
50,
like
but
that.
Yeah, I mean, sure. In the same way that like Patrick Stewart was when he was captain of the Enterprise, but like,
or Asian women of a certain
Yeah.
age.
yeah, I mean, sure, whatever. I was going for like the bald white guy, but okay. But like, so we already know again from the works that Rasheed is like stupid old for what he should be, and we already know what a wizard's lifespan relatively looks like, right? So that's the thing where it's like, again, you're cherry picking shit that he's really old, so he must be a wizard, but he's probably also a Celtic god, but he's also, whatever.
Well, these are different theories from different people, right?
I know. We know from Word of Jim, though, that Rasheed fought Al-Hazred, the mad Arab, right, who wrote the Necronomicon. And we know from that lore, at least, though it hasn't been recanonized for Dresden Files, when that was supposed to happen, right? That was way longer ago than a wizard's lifespan. So the fact that this guy would be older than that, like, unless you're implying that Rasheed went back in time to go kick this guy's ass because there weren't any contemporary wizards to handle it for some reason, it had to be Rasheed. Like, unless that's the crazy ass theory you're going for, like, no. We're like,
Rasheed was the last chosen one, right? And he kind of cheats with this job that he has now. Like he gets to go and cheat how much time is actually passes for him versus everyone else. Must be kind of jarring for him. Goes to the wall for a week, comes back. Oh, it's been 10 years. Ah, fuck. Man.
Wizard. He lives in magic,
That's part of the job, I would imagine.
What's this new iPod thing?
Why can't I touch it?
Yeah, right. I think the flip side of that is, like we've nonchalantly suggested that Rasheed is probably spending like a lot of his time on the wall, and that the wall probably is basically like a pocket of no time, right? So like he's not really aging while he's there. But what just occurred to me though is like, so he's aged real life human centuries in that amount of time. So he's seen centuries of the outsiders trying to breach the gates and that kind of warfare. Like, a Shoggoth in the original lore and that sort of thing is the sort of thing that would like drive you crazy just by looking at it. His job is to look at that shit every second of every day as the gatekeeper for 1,000 years. Like, holy crap, like, wow. Like, even if he's got protective magic and everything like that, which he almost certainly does, like, just watching like millions, if not billions, of Winter Court Fae just getting eaten over and over again by Shoggoths and whatever other crazy things. Like, yeah, that just occurred to me. Like, that's a thing you can infer from the text. That's not a leap, but I'm not going to bang that drum anymore this episode. But it's cool. Mac is older than that, so.
Well, I mean, he is just not for the reason they think.
Right. And I mean, yeah, if you want to twist it, Mac was Rasheed's predecessor, not his direct predecessor, but it's possible that Mac and Uriel and everybody else was, they fought outsiders, right? Somebody had to cast them out. So, talk about the war in heaven. There's an more ancient and more difficult war that the angels had to fight before that. How do you think they got so good at it? That's the sort of thing like that. Those are some fun stories for me for whatever reason, like the whole, war between angels and devils. And then now, with outsiders as well, like just imagine what that would look like. Right. It just craziness.
Well, yeah, there's a word of Jim that basically the conflict with Lucifer is more of a philosophical one than anything else, because he's not even close to the biggest problem as far as the white god is concerned.
Okay, next stupid idea. Mac is he who walks beside.
Yes,
we can confidently say that one was wrong.
We can confidently say they're all wrong, or at least
I mean, but which mantle is this? Is this like his 53rd mantle, or
like the thing that compels me to bring it up is just how stupid it is. Just because that he who walks before recognized him, therefore he must have been he who walks beside that had betrayed them.
Have we ever seen them in the same place at the same time? Director, isn't that the justification for Rasheed and Odin?
Yes, and if we ever see them in the same place in the same time, Okay.
I skipped
Jim,
to the next
Jim,
one.
can you get on
and
that?
It's,
Like,
it's annoying me even more.
Oh, I'm sure this one was making me so happy. Mac is Mab's son, and my God, Butcher is just twisted enough to do that too.
Yeah, just that rationale. Just yes, that justifies everything.
It's in Butcher's style. He's so twisted. It would be so funny.
It's what
oh,
the
the
author
next
would
one's
do.
a long one. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the next one's just like fucking. Oh, we're just doing supernatural. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Mac is God.
That's more plausible than some of the other ones here.
Again, like at least it's within a ballpark, right?
Yeah.
So,
Pretty big ballpark.
I mean, he was a Celtic god. Is it really a stretch that he's the white god?
Mhm.
It's just what the author would do. So,
I mean, what wouldn't he do except what he wouldn't do when he would do it?
dear Lord, it's so obvious now. He runs a bar. Alcohol equals spirits, and his beer is just about godly. Stealth pun, really?
Yeah,
Right.
it's not that he's an
He's the Holy
ectomancer because
Spirit.
we're talking about spirits. No.
But no, he's got to
Godly.
be God. Like, that's cool. I mean, if you like your drink, that's really cool. But like, yeah, like every barkeeper now is God because only.
Well,
would be,
It depends on how drunk you are and what you're talking about with them.
right.
it would just be late, like EG kind of said. It was kind of fun and kind of exciting in season 5 of Supernatural when that was the thing,
And when it was supposed to be the end.
and when that was supposed to be the end. But I don't love it if that happened and if that was in the Dresden Files.
Right. So they do
Oh,
have the
Okay.
pretty on the point thing of like he's probably a Grigori, as we pretty confidently think now. But then below that, Mac is Lucifer, or could be Lucifer,
Yeah, man.
because Lucifer hasn't been seen yet, and therefore, why not?
I mean,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
just what Jim.
He has exerted
thought-
power though, like we've seen him do something.
I thought Mister was Lucifer, but that's fine. So
Well,
No,
or-
Mister is obviously Anubis because he's a cat.
Hmm.
Oh wait, no, Anubis is a jackal. Which is the
See?
cat one? There's a
you're
cat
flipping the
Egyptian god.
arguments, man.
Bast.
Maybe it's best.
There's a
I
couple
mean,
of others.
Panther,
Sekhmet.
right?
Oh well, it's adjacent. Actually, no, that would make him a Malk then because it's a big black cat. That's what best is if it's a panther.
I don't think she's a panther, but I don't remember honestly. Mac was once an outsider,
Yeah.
and now
Yes.
he's a bartender.
That
It
that only works if the white god and the angels were his version of outsiders, and they just stayed inside because they were good for some reason.
Right.
The whole point of the Outsiders is that they are so alien and so not
Mhm.
like it wouldn't make any sense for an outsider. Like if there's an
Almost
outsider,
as if they had like 24 wings and 56 eyes. And
Right,
they
that's the
could
thing with
fly in
biblical
any
angels
direction.
is they basically are fucking Lovecraftian nightmares.
Right.
They're just nice about it because they tell you don't be afraid, as opposed to the other thing which hisses at you and eats
Like-
you.
It's always a good sign when a messenger from God shows up and the first things out of his mouth are "Be not afraid." I'm like, oh, well, thanks for saying that because that really set me back.
Listen,
Like,
the other
I
one-
almost freaked out there, but you got me.
The other one's just gonna hiss and eat you with its tentacle face. So, I mean of the two options.
Yeah, you can tell when they're an actual outsider because their first words are either gibbering nonsense or "be afraid," as opposed to the "be not afraid." Which
Isn't it
really
supposed to be not afraid? Bitch, I said what I said.
right?
I don't like this theory.
Oh. That could be the title of this episode.
I don't like this theory.
But that's the same reason I actually don't like the walkers like that much. Is that I think these Lovecraftian outside realms thing. Like, as soon as the walkers are too relatable, they're too understandable in a way. Like even like Harry conversing with them. The whole point of Lovecraftian beings is that they're supposed to be outside the realm of who they and what they are. They're supposed to be completely alien to how we think.
Yeah, but the problem with that is writing that is like, well, then it's like you're trying to envision a color that doesn't exist. How do you do it? So you've got you're always going to be
a big fan
limited
of
to.
Lovecraftian stuff in general.
I mean, I guess you can get away with it because we only see them here on Earth, so they're playing by reality rules, so they get grounded, which is enough of an in-world
They still
reason.
quip and talk and
Well, yeah, but that's also because everybody fucking quips and talks in this. I mean, if you're not quipping and talking, you're either extraordinarily dangerous or you're not a character.
Or dead. Even the dead people.
No, the dead. The dead.
Yeah.
The dead crib all the time.
Talk. I'm pretty sure Sir Stuart was like colonially quipping at times.
You're a big
Lovely.
Lovecraftian guy, Justin. Isn't it like weird to you? The whole
What, that the outsiders?
that they're kind of almost too relatable. Like the walkers are actually, they're characters, which I guess it's a good thing for a story, but it's a little weird to the concept what Lovecraftian lore and beings are.
Sure, but I mean, like the whole idea that the outsiders are waging, some kind of war and that sort of thing is weird anyway. But like depending on which stories you're reading, like it's not like just because you're in a Lovecraft story and you're a Lovecraftian horror, like not everything is incomprehensible, right? Like certainly there are things that they hadn't figured out. Like for example, you got the Migo, right? They come to mind. The Migo are these crazy ass flying bug things that steal people's brains to like power their technology and whatever. That's all horrific and that's all whatever, but they do clearly have some kind of plan. We just don't understand what it is all they're doing, right? But if I were to think about it, I think right now I'd start with where EG is, where it's just like they're on the inside, they're trying to work with mortals, so they do have to be a little comprehensible, right? They can't just drive everybody mad simply by being there, otherwise they can't achieve their goals, right? And the whole idea of like Harbinger being on the inside of whatever, like that I mean, that's basically what the word is, right? But it's also like a very well established trope through, like you even see it in Mass Effect, for example, right? Harbinger is one of the early Reapers that you got to deal with and that sort of thing. They basically paved the way for the invasion. And so the fact that he's inside, he's working with mortal agents, like they have cultists, right? So, like it all kind of ties down there, but it depends. The Shoggoths are the ones that are like, even the Shoggoths, like if you take a step back and try and shield your brain a little bit, like in the original lore, they were more janitors and like engineers, and then they developed a little bit of consciousness and rebelled, right? In the like Mountains of Madness, I think that's all kind of implied there. So, like you have that sort of thing. So it's like they are crazy gibbering masses of monsters and whatever, but like you can kind of get through. Whereas like, Cthulhu and whatever, he's just going to roll over in his sleep and crush you. That's his incomprehensibleness. Like I don't know. We could go for a while. I could go for a while. I get paid $0.25 per word, so
Not by me.
Yeah, right. Not by nobody, but it's a fun joke. So
Okay. Let's see. Colin Murphy didn't commit suicide because
we're
why
skipping
wouldn't he?
over.
Yeah. We'll just skip over the chief is Murphy's dad yet because obviously he was fucking confirmed.
right.
So yeah,
I know
Colin?
they were like, but if I read like 3 more chapters of the book, there it is. Like, so why did you go to the internet to write this before you finished the book? Like,
the timestamp probably would reveal that this was probably before Ghost Story fully came out.
Right.
But it should have at least been moved or cleaned up or something to the point like, yes, this was confirmed or whatever.
It does say confirmed.
Yeah, but they have a different section usually for where the confirmed things go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But right. So it says Colin Murphy probably doing his good job of everything probably got some bad attention by a House Skavis person or something of the like that got him to commit suicide, but it wasn't really his fault. And then it says it's confirmed at least partially by word of Jim. I don't know of this word of Jim. Does this exist?
I don't remember if that was about him or about Malcolm, because I'm pretty sure there's one that says it wasn't. Well, Malcolm's the easy one because you get that tidbit in the second book where the unnatural deaths of his parents.
That's
I think there actually is one that says it wasn't like purely a suicide.
Right.
For a second.
Interesting. I hope that comes back then. All right. Kincaid is Drakkul's grandson. Because. That's the full argument. Because.
Subpoint.
Great.
Because. Like
counterpoint. No.
Just so we're clear, everybody, this is how arguments are formed, defended, and won. Is that you say something fucking crazy and then you just say because.
Yeah.
Not because it'd be cool, not because I like it, not because it's supported by the works. Hell no for that, right? But just because I thought
isn't that the meme now? You know, states Kincaid as Dracula's grandson, refuses to elaborate, leaves.
Right. You know.
That's what it is.
So, I mean, it's a small argument going on about like, because, well, that's a pretty poor argument on itself, but like Margaret is the daughter of Titania. That makes sense, especially with our line creator, but that doesn't mean that Kincaid is Dracula's grandson as well.
The thing that gets me about the thing that gets me about these little arguments is that it like this statement is again outside of context of anything we could connect with. Like these two guys have been having an argument somewhere else on the internet and brought it here to have it codified in the Wikipedia of TV tropes, right? Be like, well, obviously Margaret is Titania. We all agree on that. Who's we? And where did you have that conversation? Like, sorry, that was the thing I took away from that. Like, you know, we've got our director is like, you know, Rasheed is Odin. As far as I know, thank God she's the only person on the planet that actually thinks that's a thing, right? But that's like she goes onto the subreddit. It was like, well, as we discussed in our prior meeting, like, ooh, you and the mouse in your pocket. Like, where are you?
Per my previous email.
Right. Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, there's a sub thing on the Dracul, Kincaid's grandfather. It's like, no. Kincaid is Dracula's son, not grandson, because what does it ever say that Dracula was his only son? And
yeah, I love shit like that.
Yeah.
Well, he never said he only had one kid. Oh, okay. Great.
Right. Kincaid is the good kid, obviously.
Yeah. And historical Vlad II Dracul had 4 children, therefore there could be more of them out there or something. And Kincaid is clearly an alias to be able to get by in modern day life, and so that clearly this is correct.
I mean, I actually even don't give a shit if this happens to be the case. It's just, all right, so
prove it.
Right. Well, prove it. Yeah. Like, and why is Kincaid? Like, that's a sort of alias that a Black Court vampire would come up with, right? I need a name to get under the radar, right? Couldn't be John Smith or whatever. It's going to be Kincaid. And they'll call me the Hellhound because I'm really flying under the radar, so.
Well, that one, at least, I think, was before he became Kincaid. Hellhound was his going back to his time with Dracul.
Right.
That's just what his title was.
Cody, I'm going to say it here in front of everybody. I missed you. So please keep that stupid ass shit going.
Okay, and to go the other directions on Kincaid's heritage, he's a Nephilim, a son of mortal and a fallen angel.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's a Nephilim. Harry's a Nephilim. Everybody's a fucking Nephilim.
I mean, if he's the son of Dracul, it's closer that he's a Cambrian, right? So just
yes. But that would require terms being used.
Oh, come on.
The
alternative is so bad.
Alternatively, Leah is his mother. He is implied to have something, and that nickname would imply it's half dog. So clearly his mother is Leah.
Wait, who else has a thing about dogs? Leah's got a thing about hellhounds, right? So therefore, Kincaid is like, you know, could you imagine, like, if Leah had a litter of puppies and then she's like, oh, come here, my little hellhounds, but they're like little
You know what children. Would be nice is if we just had one scene where, I don't know, a wizard who has the ability to look at some creature in their true form had ever once looked at Kincaid and it wasn't a dog-like figure at all. Wouldn't that be something? If only it was, you know, a demonic figure.
Well, that's like your opinion, man. So.
Yeah, it's subjective, but, you know, who knows what it is.
Yeah. I mean, like, taking that scene, right, there's still a half a dozen, like, random conspiracy theories and thoughts there, too, right? I mean, the two that make the most sense to me is that, you know, I personally think he got a glimpse of Kincaid, but I can't disprove enough or really just even want to throw out the fact that it might have just been Mavra that he saw behind him, right? So that's kind of a fun thought too, but you know, none of those involve him being a hellhound and therefore being Leah's kid because she's got a monopoly on hellhounds. So like she's the queen of hellhounds now.
Okay, here's another one about Kincaid's parentage. He is the son of Nicodemus. Because they have a personal history, and Kincaid hates Nicodemus with a furious passion. He hates him because of small favor. I don't remember them.
Well, I also
didn't he have a problem with him before?
He didn't really care until Nicodemus said that line that sounded like he was listening in to what Ivy was saying, and that rattled Kincaid, and he was pissed about it. Up until that point, he didn't really. He was just being his normal fuck you, stand in your corners and stop doing things.
Fuck you, fuck you. This guy's cool. I'm killing everybody else.
You get the comments. I forget who it is. I don't remember if it's Namshil or Tessa that he's hunted them before. But I mean, he's fucking hunted everything before. So I don't know. I don't think that was necessarily a personal vendetta.
But the next bullet point is Lashiel is his mother, or Nicodemus has fallen fathered Kincaid with a mortal woman.
Yes.
Naturally.
Did that and didn't give him a coin like he did with his fucking daughter.
Well, that's because Kincaid was a rebellious little teen, which meant he had to be good, or at least an anti-hero instead of taking.
And in order to be good, it went to the guy who's literally like black-eyed, sourcing mini-apocalypses for XP. Like, let's go work for him for 1,000 years. That's a good guy.
Right. Sorry, I just got to take a moment. So, Cody, if you're not going to be serious, I don't even want to have you bring this shit into the chat, right? Kincaid doesn't have a metal arm or a robot eye, so he's not Butters from the future. All right. So if we're gonna cable this up, then
whenever for the listeners at home who's not watching on YouTube, the mysterious Cody is a viewer in chat. Just so that's
he's one of our patrons. He's more than just a viewer, man. He's paid to be here and get this level of shit.
No, he pays to be here.
Patron.
Yes, he has paid.
He is not paid.
Yeah.
You too can get berated by Justin if you pay him.
It's an apostrophe. So I mean, I'll make fun of you anyway. I make fun of people for free. I mean, I rip on myself all day long. But
but you get personalized ones if you pay for things.
Yeah, you got to know your value, Justin.
Can we put that in the tier? I didn't realize that was a thing.
money.
Can I get paid for doing?
Yeah, no. If you're generic, if you get generic insults with just the text you put, but not your name. If you're not paying, but if you are paying, you get called out by name.
If you just put random things in the chat, I'll give you sick burns. Like, I'm sorry, who are you? And if you pay us like at least $2 a month, then we'll be like, oh, Cody, yeah, fuck that guy. I love you. I hope you're watching because I just made a heart with my hands. So that was free though.
Okay. Kincaid is the scion of the Earl King.
Yes.
Why does the visage we see is not Fey-like in nature? It's
people don't read the books for this kind of information. They read it for their own headcanon.
Yeah. He's obviously a Warcraft orc, guys. Come on. That's what you saw when Harry did the thing. He's got the horns and the tusks and the
No, he's actually what the fuck is the guy's name at the end of Fantasia? The big ass demon with wings? That's what he is.
It kind of looks like that, like so smaller, but that's kind of what's described, right?
I just don't remember the name. I'm just saying that's who he is in the character. That's it. That's who he is. We've solved it.
That's literally who he is.
There's a Disney princess.
Somewhere in the Never Never, awesome. There's a Fantasia-like realm, and that's the guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, that's not even like a wild guess, right? Everything is in the Never Never somewhere, right? So, like pretty as far as like mystical whatever, but.
Okay, leaving Kincaid.
Oh no.
Hendrix has Viking heritage.
Oh, stop. Go away. He's dead. Leave it alone.
It's just like, because he's a big guy, therefore he's a Viking.
I mean, he does now. Because he's a fucking Einherjar.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's the last bullet point, and then, a sub point of the latter is confirmed by Battleground. It's like, with that in mind, it's possible that when he dies, he'll become an Einherjar.
Anyone who's a proven warrior, at least around, I don't know how much, they don't have as much power as they used to, right? But like Murphy proves himself to be a warrior.
Including Irish
that's because
Catholics.
She's blonde and 4 feet tall. That's what all the Vikings were. So, yeah. So Murphy obviously had Viking blood as well. She was literally a shield maiden.
Listen, she was a Viking in spirit because she was a badass warrior, and
she's a proven warrior.
Everything.
Yeah, it's unmarried, not by bloodline.
No, it's bloodline. He just said so on the TVTropes page. Weren't you listening?
I'm out, guys. See ya.
You're just hoping you go.
That was.
You're just hoping you go to Valhalla. Who are you kidding?
Oh, I go by DNA. I don't go by merit.
Exactly. You're not getting in on merit. You're going to have to work on the heritage one.
Unless video games count, then I'm sure you've slain many.
Oh yeah,
many
if video
I have a
games
kill
count,
count.
even I'm going to fucking get in, and I haven't played a video game in like 15 years.
Yes, but you crushed that candy, EG. Such a valiant effort. So
Nah, man. GoldenEye.
nice.
Slappers only. Hand-to-hand combat like a real warrior.
Right.
Okay.
Slap that man to death. All right.
On to Rudolph. Here's,
Please.
Rudolph's motivations are more complex than we realized because in grave peril he was threatening to hurt Harry if something bad happened to Murphy, and then he bad.
So he's just misunderstood.
I guess so.
That
Rudolph is a kind of inconsistent asshole character that I'm not really sure where Jim is going with, but I'm hoping there will be something at the end of the line.
Yeah, he's been way too persistent to be like a throwaway character, right? And especially now that he's obviously like hurt somebody directly integral to the plot and everything like that, you know. So like
Jim could be building up one hell of a redemption story.
Right, like up through changes, like you can see him being a pain in the ass and a minor antagonist and whatever, and then in changes, you're like, who's pulling his strings, right? But even still, compared to what's going on, it's all insignificant. But now he's fucking like he's drawn blood, right? He's actually hurt the heroes. So now it's like, all right, now we got to actually pay attention, see what's going on here. Like even if it's like Harry goes and maybe that's a plot point in 12 months, you know, like there's a crazy ass guess for you that he spends some time trying to figure out what's going on and who's pulling his strings or something. But I don't know.
Well, there's
I actually kind of like that idea that I just brought up with that Jim's kind of been building up like him as like a super ass, like, and he's kind of going to do a redemption arc for him and we try and turn the super unlikable guy likable, and he like killing Murphy's kind of what flipped him, and I actually kind of like that if he does that. It's a little cliche, but I like it.
So the obvious thing then at that point is after his redemption arc, he's going to carry Amarachius. So that's the obvious.
Maybe
no. His is the kind of redemption arc where he gets killed at the end of it.
More likely.
Because there's really only two ways, as far as I can tell, that this is going to go. It's either going to go the redemption arc, or it's going to go he's like. Catalyst closure arc for Harry. Harry's going to pursue him and then, you know, realize it's not worth it type deal. You know, the unsatisfying revenge story where they learn that revenge is not the way to go.
Yes. How terrible that they learned their lesson instead of just murdered the guy and pulled his entrails through his nose. Like,
listen,
how unsatisfying.
I have no problem with Rudolph staying alive because I don't care about what he did, but most people are not going to find that satisfying if that's the route it goes because of what he did.
Murder's not the answer.
As for a motivation,
murder's always the answer.
Someone offers Rudolph had a crush on Murphy and got turned down. That's why he was so protective in the beginning, and then he was burned, and then so it's like, well, fuck you and everyone you like. So,
and you never did anything to anybody, but you didn't say God bless you when I sneezed. So.
I'm not sure why it's relevant. We know Rudolph ended up in SI to begin with for sleeping with the wrong congressman's daughter. Why is that relevant? Okay, we know he's heterosexual. Is that important? The relevance?
Well, because he's likely to think that he can have sex with people he shouldn't. I
guess.
No,
he's at least bisexual. Don't try and
or bisexual, but I don't know. I mean,
that's bi-erasure, Andreas. Don't do it.
It's just that seems like a weak argument to go with for starters. He had sex with a woman.
We don't even know that he actually had the sex. He slept with could just be sleeping. Maybe they just took a nap, and it was a misunderstanding.
Just took a nap, and there was a misunderstanding. No, sir. You see, I was just tired.
They just know each other, you know. No,
platonically.
Yeah,
platonic napping together.
No, he was on the staff of the other candidates, political team, and so that's why he got. He was a staffer for like the Democrat, and the guy's girl he was with was Republican. And that's the problem. It all comes down to politics. Everything is political, including Kincaid's parentage.
Oh, definitely.
Well, clearly, as the son of Dracul, he's a Republican because red, right? Like it's just they're playing on the same team, like. Demons are always red. Republicans are
I don't
red.
know. I get a distinct libertarian vibe from Dracula. I think he just kind of do whatever the fuck you want.
Kincaid's obviously liberal. He'll shoot everybody. Like,
Right.
You know.
It's
Equal
they're both
opportunity.
very libertarian. They're opportunists. They do what they want when they want.
Yeah. Money is
Ivy's-
king.
Ivy's father has already appeared or been mentioned. I would like him to be a plain vanilla mortal, maybe even Butters, because that would amuse the hell out of me. But he could be almost anyone in the huge male cast, except Harry, because that would be just silly at this point.
Yeah, that would
So
be silly.
Butters-
That would be
You know.
silly.
I like how it's definitive, right? Ivy's father has appeared, but what I'd really like is this. So has he appeared? And you've got a theory about this that you would like to give us something to chew on, or you just want it to have happened,
I don't think
obviously.
her father matters. It didn't matter.
Not even her mother really mattered, except as a
Exactly.
plot point.
Tragic backstory. So
Yeah, well, you know. And she's born knowing that her mother hated her. Okay,
I
off
can't-
you go on your arc.
Mm-hmm.
Can we make this a weird kind of like child actor thing where like daddy comes back in like another year or two and be like, it's me, your father, and I came back now that I know that you're this big archmage thing, and just, you know, whatever. So
Yes, as long as that is then
Father
Butters and she squishes him. That would be
She
fine.
probably knows who he is. If she knows that her mother hated her as soon as she was born, and she can understand all of written anything down, anything ever, she knows who her father is. But it
Theoretically.
doesn't matter because
It's not
just a-
relevant.
yeah,
She has Kincaid and Harry.
yeah, it's Kincaid,
It's
obviously.
not even them anymore because, you know, stupid
because one killed the other,
microfiction.
sort of.
And one
That's right.
contracted
That's right.
the other to kill him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, because I was like, why would she be mad at Harry? Oh, right, you know, the murder thing where he hired.
Oh, right.
I was
the
really
Her
looking
other best
forward to
friend.
them talking and
Nah, she's mad at
talks
him.
and
They can't talk.
battlegrounds, but
Yeah.
later,
Look,
I
dude,
guess
she literally has every self-help and therapy book in her head. So
I'm
she
going
just
to be
needs
honest.
process that grief.
I am going to be exceedingly upset if Jim goes the same route he did with Lily, and she gets like emotional and destructive about this. Because as much as I understand the concept of what Harry means to her, that's no.
right. She has every self-help book in her head ever, and maybe she should avail herself to some of that advice. Maybe not all of it,
Well,
but some of it.
Yeah.
Demonreach is, or used to be, an outsider.
Kincaid's father.
That was
Demonreach is
I mean, it's all-
actually
it's-
just literally
it's-
God.
it's all what
the
could be
author-
confirmed what Demonreach is and what his nature is and where his power
Geosexual.
comes from. So
Yeah, but we could do more.
Demonreach is a prison.
he does
of
have. He
wizard
probably
making.
does have some of his power is outside their base. There's probably outsiders locked up in the
Well,
prison.
yeah, there's definitely outsiders locked up.
And
Well,
so someone-
the best argument here is no reason why they both can't be true.
exactly.
Yeah.
Why not? Wait, is that? That's a director argument of they're not both in the same place, therefore true.
Your crazy ass theory doesn't invalidate my crazy ass theory. So
Yeah, just the
therefore they're
fact that
both
it's
true.
an island that the Merlin made it in a leyland because of the prison and everything doesn't mean it can't also be an outsider.
Right. Well, yeah, Merlin captured Demonreach as the first outsider. Then he didn't have a place to play it, like put him. So he made.
So he made it
Demonreach
the
a
automated defense system of the prison.
prison. Right. And he bound him to the land.
I don't know about that one. That seems like a security risk.
It's what the author would do. So
Isn't his style?
ultimate trump card. Yeah, it's his
It makes
style.
perfect sense if you don't think about it.
It's all the other times, like when Harry bound all those, or when. No, I got nothing. You know what's horrifying me though? Just to cut in here, we have 15 minutes. We haven't made it through the first section. So, God damn it, director, how long is this going to go on for?
Who fucking knows?
Oh
We have
man,
content.
is that what this is?
Pretty much. Okay, this one's dumb, but all of them are dumb. But this one seems so useless. Hendrix is actually deep undercover for CPD's Mafia Squad.
This is debunked anyway. Like, who?
Well, by now, but maybe when they read it, they were only up to like grave peril or something. You know,
It,
so.
it Yeah, maybe. But there's some arguing about like, but he like murdered someone, and I don't think they'd be authorized for that.
They
And-
definitely wouldn't be authorized for that.
So here's a fun fact about Chicago. Nobody cares, right? Like, and I'm not saying like nobody cares, right? But I think the fact that he was CPD and killed somebody would not at all factor into it, right? It's not like the 70s or 80s where it's like, oh man, he's a bad cop now and we got to hold him at arm's length or something like that. And I'm not just saying that because, politics and whatever. Like, Chicago literally had/has a black site, right, where they're disappearing people and putting them away. That's me. I'm going to get black bagged here in a second on camera. But, like, I'm just saying, of all the things, like, that's like an old trope. I mean, maybe it fits noir, right? Because that'd be something like you'd find from a 30s detective story. Like, oh man, that guy's such a badass cop. He doesn't even pay his parking tickets, right? But like, I just don't see it. Like, I can't see why that's the justification.
Well,
Next one's debunked as well.
But just the Hendrix thing is another example of the way that they fight with each other on this page. Like, this is incredibly flimsy reasoning by the same logic. Kincaid is an undercover cop too, and then someone says, "Yeah, well, why couldn't Kincaid have been a cop at some point?" Doesn't mean Hendrix isn't. Also, this is wild mass guessing. It doesn't need substantiation.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Harry's secretly a unicorn, so that's where the story is going. Like, what is the point of having a wild ass guess that doesn't relate remotely to the material, right? All you're doing is you're creating infinite more branches of the multiverse where all of these things are true, but those don't make better stories. Like, not to mention the whole, like, well, okay, at least it's like by the same logic, Kincaid is an undercover cop. I thought this was another one of this, like, well, everybody knows Kincaid's an undercover cop, duh. I'm like,
no, but it's like,
who knows that?
Well, this is unsubstantiated, and that is unsubstantiated. Therefore, they both can be true.
Right. If you make a bad argument, I make a bad argument. We're both right.
Yeah, that is absolutely not how logic works. But okay.
It does explain a lot about our political system, just to, get canceled one more time. So,
right. So Harry's mechanic is a supernatural. I think this is what Andreas was talking about. I'm pretty sure Jim confirmed that. Mike is very vanilla mortal.
Confirmed in text.
Yeah, he's just
the books.
Mechanic.
Cat Sith calls him Mortal Smith.
That's true.
And Cat Sith knows everybody, whether they're mortal or not. He has a mortal detector. So,
yeah, he would know if someone's mortal or something else.
Lash will take over Ivy's body after she has passed on her knowledge. I guess this is before White Knight. I don't know. Because Ivy's getting older, and with Harry and Molly's role in the Never Nevers expanding, it's possible for a decent time skip to take place. We know the archive mantle passes down from mother-daughter line, and that means that the mother is left as a shell. I don't think so. Since Lash has composed herself as part of Harry's soul, she could presumably have taken over Ivy's empty shell. Yeah, but
Ivy's shell's not what?
Yeah, because that's what the time skip is needed for. We're just going to skip forward 50 years.
He just has brain death off screen, so that Lash can take over her body.
Even if Ivy were to lose the archive mantle, I mean, it's an integral part of her, so I'm not sure how that will work. But there is a person that has the mantle who is separate from the mantle. Like, if the mantle were to be removed from this person, Ivy is still a person, just with no knowledge anymore, I guess. But she's still there. The personality will probably still be there.
Well, I mean, but this was a mantle that gets passed on in death, so she is going to die in order to pass this on.
Then there's not an empty shell, then there's a dead shell.
Well, it also doesn't matter because they're fucking mortal. The archives are not immortal, so Lash is going to go into a dead body that's already been killed either of old age or some sort of violence.
It's not an empty shell or a dead shell. It's a ghost in a shell. All right.
You know what? It's a taco shell. It's a hard shell taco. That gets turned into a soft shell taco after you kill them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I almost went there, and then I realized how creepy and weird it was gonna sound, so I just cut it. So anyway,
restraint.
My favorite part though, like, so this is all great, right? This is great, but then the next bullet point is that it was just by skin game because Lash is definitely dead. Okay, so because that's what happens. She's an angel, right? Who got crushed by regular rocks, but in hell. So
they were
no. This is just they're talking. This is the shadow and
Yeah, this is the
Oh,
Lash is the
yeah,
shadow.
fair. But it says in Skin Game. Lash didn't make it to Skin Game, is what I'm saying.
No,
right?
I think
If
they're
it had
saying
been
that
just
because the
by White
prevailing
Knight-
theory was we see her again in Skin Game, quote unquote, and that was the result of the parasite.
And Bonnie.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's really
They
hard for me
consider-
to quibble the difference between Lash and Lashiel when they're talking about there's going to be a time skip where Ivy dies off screen and therefore Lash and
Wow.
habits
These
her
are-
body.
You're
right?
quibbling with people who don't know how mechanics work anyway, so it doesn't
Yeah, so I
These are-
didn't get into it that deep, is what I'm saying. So forgive me.
But at least they didn't say Persephone. They didn't say it was
I
fucking
have seen
Beckett's
that
daughter.
at various
so.
points. I don't remember where that happened, but I did see that Lash will take over Persephone's
Yeah,
body.
of course, that's everybody that's a spirit is going to take over that. But that kid is going to be a fucking rave of spirits.
Right. But why would
She is Pandora's
Lash need
box.
Ivy's body? Why couldn't, if this would work, why couldn't Lash have taken any dead body?
They're only weird,
Lash the
bad reasons
entity.
that I can think of. So it's
I mean,
it's
this
stupid.
is not.
It's just that's all that needs to be. Sorry, Andreas, go ahead.
I was just say, this is not really confirmed anywhere, except like I guess like if you think logically about it, like Lash the entity is an imprint left on specifically Harry to get him to say yes to the coin. That's the purpose, and then she kind of evolves from there into this more independent being. But I would guess by her nature, she's locked to the person she's imprinted on.
Well, yeah, until she changes. You know, energy can't be destroyed, so she sacrifices what she is and helps birth the spirit of
new
intellect
entity.
that can then move. But Lash, whatever functional personality Lash was, is gone. Her knowledge is there because she had a kid, but she is out.
Who
Which is
also has
fine.
like a new
It's
nature,
growth.
right?
It's good. Not everybody needs to stay alive in this series. Sometimes
it's-
death can have an impact and stay that way.
Yeah, it's realistic. It's a tragedy, right? Like this isn't like the A-Team where it's like, oh, Mr. T sprained his ankle and that's the most drama we're gonna get out of it, right? Like
How dare
You
you?
know-
He really hurt his ankle that episode.
right. So like, death is definitely going to be a part of it. And like Mab even kind of tells us, I think, in a way, like this can be a wild ass guess, but at least it's text that, she buried a cohort of lovers, right? What Dresden is doing is necessary, especially from her perspective. And, sacrifices are going to happen. They're going to be made, and that sort of thing. But like, I don't know why it's got to be this. Like, the thing to keep in mind is like, even now, like Ivy is only like, she's just 18 or she's in her early 20s. Right. So it's just like, we're only just now getting to the point where it's like, despite her immense amount of knowledge and all of these other things, like, you're still toying around with the fact that like you're killing a child, right? Like that sort of thing. So I think her story isn't going anywhere for a little while, but she's definitely going to have to deal with, the Kincaid and Harry thing. I don't think that's going to be on ice forever, right? But it's like, when is she going to come back and deal with that? Who knows? But yeah, just this whole like, there's no logic. That's why it's a wild mass guess. It doesn't need substantiation.
We don't do logic on this page.
Yeah, we don't do that here.
This next one could be perfectly reasonable, actually.
Sure, whatever.
Corpse Taker was originally one of the Cahokians because she was connected to the Cahokian artifacts on loan to the Field Museum so that she could, whatever. And then when we see her true form in Ghost Story, she's described as having facial tattoos, which is not exactly a European custom.
What is now? Especially
Maybe
if you're
she's
German.
from the South Side, guys. Like, did you ever think of that? So,
Listen, did you ever consider that Jim would just do it because it's in his nature?
all of his villains have facial tattoos because that's how you know that they're bad.
And they're
guys.
British.
Are facial tattoos a Cahokian custom?
What isn't a Cahokian? Can you tell me what aren't
And-
Cahokian customs, please?
She was Chakotay. That's what it was. She was
America's
no,
ancient warriors.
Is that on the
Cahokians,
Chipotle menu?
Cahokians.
I think you're just making up words now.
Well, they have a brisket now.
It's a Star Trek Voyager reference, which I realized like one guy here was going to get at best. Like
They're a type of an Indian tribe, I guess.
Yes, we know that part, but I don't know. Do they have facial tattoos?
Why don't you ask one? Why are you asking the white people?
see, to be honest, until just now, like finally I have learned something by watching this because I didn't even realize she had facial tattoos. Like,
You didn't?
no, like, is that for reals? Like,
They didn't glow.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
in
count.
the text. Like, why?
Get like
Why would you-
swirly some things. I
Well, you
think.
know Molly has tattoos, right?
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
you know, if it's in a description, it's something you might notice. That's all.
Well, yeah, but I mean, probably the problem with Corpse Taker is like the only time we actually see her is when she's dead. And
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I don't-
98% of Ghost Story hooded and robed.
I don't
so-
picture 98% of these people the way they're told. Like, Corpse Taker to me is just a fucking skeleton walking around because of the name. That's,
Right.
that's what I think of.
Well, or the body that she inhabits. Like, you know, most of the time when she was alive, she was inhabiting, you know,
Lucio's
like a
now
20-something
Alicia,
girl,
or
right? Like,
yeah, Alicia.
Yeah, Lucio's current body. Or she was inhabiting Lucio, which I kind of imagine is like maybe at best 5.5 feet tall, you know, the short haircut, like, I don't know. There's a number of actresses. I think that
Tyne
might be
Daly
real,
is
but-
always who I pictured her as.
Time Daily.
Mhm.
Nothing comes to mind when I hear that, but anyway, yeah. So and then when she's dead, she's just robed like the whole time, like, you know, because you only see her as the Gray Wraith or whatever for like most of the book until the very end when she is like trying to take people over. I'm sure her hood comes off, but yeah,
Yeah, it is described in Ghost Story. Like just these swirly tattoos or something.
Interesting. I'll have to reread that. Well, I learned something today. Thank you, crazy ass TV tropes. Thank you.
I looked at the Wikipedia for the Cahokians, and there was a picture of a priest that had some facial tattoos or paint or something. I didn't see the word tattoo anywhere, but
There you go.
whatever.
Hey, man, that's at least plausible, right? I don't know if it adds a ton. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, that is a neat bit of trivia. That tell you what, that sounds like a great new convention question for Jim. Somebody should go ask him that instead of what his, you know, inspiration was, or tell us about, you know, any of his fun stories. Don't get me wrong, but like that is a new fun question. So if you want to jot that down and take it to Dragon Con just happened, but whatever his next appearance is, like that's a neat bit of trivia.
You know what?
So,
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Go to his house, knock on the door, ask him what the fuck the deal is with the Cahokians, and see if he invites you in for some buttered coffee.
and while you're there, don't ask him about why his private property has a graveyard there, because that's none of your business. So, and it's probably not due to all the other fans that have tried this. So.
Trespassers will be shot. Why do you have that hanging there?
Trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot twice.
Right.
Is the better sign.
Elaine is infected with nemesis.
Yeah, and Kincaid's sister. I mean, what are the odds?
Wait, he's infected with Kincaid's sister? Wait, she's infected?
Oh yeah.
Right, and so the justification is because Demorn and he who walks behind.
They made
And
a
so
baby.
Nemesis.
We're the same person. Yeah, the fact that, you know, he who walks beside is the one that does that, but whatever. It's, you know, it's a walker, so it's all interchangeable. It's fine.
I mean, there certainly are suspicious things about Elaine and her story and her movements and Aurora and all that with Nemesis, but I don't know. Oh, it says
I'm
Joss by
calling it
Peace
now.
Talks.
If we've got like the Destroyer and whatever, you know, the good side of Starborn winds up being called, I'm calling it now. Harry is the Destroyer, right? And Elaine actually is the chosen one. She's the one that's going to come through at the end. And because like everybody's always suspicious of Elaine, and she was mind controlled, and she
I don't like it.
Demorn, like, you know, captured
It's misunderstood.
Dresden, but every single other time she's been on screen, she's been maybe in bad circumstances at worst, right? But she's been helping people left and right. She helped the Ordo, you know, just all this other stuff. She's at least as good as Dresden if we don't see all of her, you know, conquests and all the fairies she's fought and killed, right? So yeah, she's the real hero of the Dresden Files, and she's going to come and stop Harry from destroying the world.
Well, I mean, she's Margaret's secret love child, so obviously.
So they really were gross. That's gross.
Listen, it's from another universe. It doesn't count. It's like Loki and Sylvie. If you can deal with that, you can deal with this.
Yeah, but that's just weird. Like they couldn't have possibly. No, they couldn't have possibly been actually related, though, right? Like that's the problem with that.
I don't make the rules, and neither do they. They just do what they want.
Right.
Well, it says that this one is jossed by peace talks because it implies that Starborn are immune to nemesis. We do not
there is
know
that.
for certain that Elaine is a Starborn.
No, but it seems likely.
The word of Jim,
It
I
is
think,
likely.
said she is.
Well, we asked
Well,
him,
yeah,
didn't we?
especially.
She's a candidate to be.
Yeah, but so we don't have like literally somebody point to her blood test and be like, "Yep, you're a Starborn, Harry." But like kind of the rules that we get established in the fact that like weren't they talking about thousands and thousands of people are Starborn, right? Dracul's a Starborn,
40 or 50,000 Starborn.
Yeah, like so I think that's gonna confirm it within a margin of error that until Jim comes out and specifically says, right, like I'll allow it, right? I don't think that's unplausible by any stretch.
No, the biggest problem is that they're only a couple months apart in age, but the way Ebenezer describes it is the spotlight plays over the earth for a few hours. So one of two things has to be the case. Well, maybe not just only two things, but this is what comes to mind immediately, is you use the Never Never to sort of like go back to when that was, and you put the kid there like Harry, or you go back to have the kid there, and whatever it is. Or you kind of make your own mini spotlight, like if you're trying to intentionally create a Starborn, but maybe you miss the window, or maybe you see what the window has opened and you're like, oh, I can replicate that for a minute. Let me shine this spotlight on my unborn kid.
So you're saying Margaret did this?
Right.
She just goes to the hospital.
That would be the only...
Induce me.
I don't think Elaine's... Whatever happened with Elaine did it, because Harry's the protagonist chosen one here, and his mother's the one that wanted to do this and was sort of working towards this goal, theoretically. So if it is that the natural one occurred and she's like, we need another one. And that's what they were setting up.
So I think you could be a writer for TV tropes, but outside of that, like it does bring up some interesting thoughts that I was having. Like I'm trying to think if there's other situations where like the chosen one was manufactured in that way, right? Like you get your super soldiers and stuff like that, but they kind of like grow into it, right? Like the few that I can think of, like Steve Rogers is obviously like the main candidate, right? Captain America. But in a way, like what made him special was internal. And then they gave him the super soldier syndrome or serum, afterwards, right? But the idea that Harry's the chosen one, quote unquote, but like he missed the window and then Margaret had to like pull all this magic together to make him a Starborn somehow, like that would be kind of unique and interesting in a way, but I don't think that's what happened. But
no, probably
I'm not just gonna like.
No, it's just it's only you have to either reconcile the fact that either Ebenezer's wrong, and it's not only a few hours, because if they're months apart and Elaine turns out to be a Starborn, something fucky had to happen, or she's actually a lot older than she looks, type deal. In which case, she probably is a secret bad guy because she's
right.
Or Harry was, since he's the protagonist in this case, and it makes the most sense for it to be him, he was the one that was sort of manufactured to do this.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's just nothing to latch onto that theory for Elaine, right? Because she's got like no support system whatsoever. At least Harry, we know, like his mom was special and dad was whatever, and
they were working towards creating a Starborn, whether or not that was we need to be in the right place at the right time, or we're going to do this ourselves.
Right. Interesting.
But maybe I'm not going to write a TV tropes page about it.
Maybe she lied about her age, right? That's a thing girls do, right? So she's got a fake ID and she was really 18.
I mean, but that's that. Yes, but then that's Jim lying about her age because he's the one that's word of Jim that at least twice.
Well, it's
they're a few months apart.
So
I mean, what isn't? What wouldn't? I mean, she is the older one because there's only 2 more months after Harry's born for her. I don't think she was a December baby.
Right.
I think he might have actually said the summer, but I don't remember if I'm just.
Wouldn't it be fitting though?
Affecting that.
So since she had ties with the summer,
right? That's why I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if I'm Mandela affecting that or not.
Nice. Sick reference, bro.
All my references.
The Merlin is infected with nemesis.
The Merlin is infected with an overabundance of he's actually going to turn out to be competent despite all evidence to the contrary.
Right.
I agree with that take. The justification here seems to be because the gatekeeper was on the opposite side of him and proven guilty about Molly's trial of being a warlock. And yeah, because the gatekeeper we
possibly
like
just
and we
read-
trust. Therefore, if the Merlin is being an asshole, he must be infected.
But just mean morals and differences of opinions.
Yeah, it can't be that. It can't be nuanced. It can't be that they're just very different people.
Which is why you have a council, right?
And
Yeah,
then,
no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't. It would no.
Yeah, I think he is going to be very annoyingly competent. Just kind of like the same way of, as we see in Turncoat, of he's very savvy, but we don't like him even if we're on the same side. But
No, see, the only problem I have, well, not the only problem. The main problem I have with the Merlin's competence is it's all secondhand, like, no, just trust me, he is. You know, and people always cite, well, he's always got the 3 plans, right? And it's like, the first time we see that, fucking Harry is able to counteract that. So, I mean, like, how impressive is that really? Okay, he's got 3 plans, but the schmuck he wants to kill sees through it.
When it comes to the plans and the intrigue, Harry really is a schmuck, isn't he?
But it's like, you know, so the only other thing they really have to go on is the root to branch thing, and then that's what happens to be the case.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, he's on the Great Council, and he's secretly a good guy, and it's like, I'm sorry, I don't think he's that good an actor. I really don't. I think he actually believes this. The fact that he might be willing to point Harry in the right direction, I could sort of see that, sure. But that to me that's not a mastermind to say, oh, there's a loose cannon, let me point him at my enemies.
mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't really strike me as tactical genius. And it's just like, well, I don't want him pointed at me, so obviously I'm going to point him over there.
I mean, that's the first point is sword fighting. You know, pointy end goes in the other guy, right?
And 2 birds with 1 stone. If I fucking kill the crazy wizard, great. If he kills all the wild card vampires, even better. And technically, both things happened. He died, they died.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, win-win. And then he came back and he's like, mother.
Right, but that's as far as the plan goes. It's like, okay, I got lucky. Cool.
Right.
Okay. On the subject of the rent is Goodman Gray paying off a previous debt incurred to Harry's mom.
Nope.
Nope.
We knew that before we got the confirmation that that's not what that was, and we know it now.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what it actually is.
I don't think we know.
It's because for his free will. It's so because he's a negloshi and he wants to be able to act, so he pays rent, quote unquote, to keep his free will.
Okay.
At least that's what it's trending towards. Again, it's not the kind of thing that's been ironclad said.
Yeah.
But
somebody says, I personally thought that rent was short for parent. Gray needs to pay his progenitor something for some reason, but he cares more about how he gets the money rather than what or how much.
I mean, that doesn't linguistically make sense to me. He cares about how he gets the money, but not how much. What is that? I care that I got a quarter, just not how much the quarter is actually worth. No.
Yeah, but that's kind of the implication, though, right? Why else would he work for $1? So if it's $1, it's a quarter.
It's the action that matters. Like that part.
Well,
is
right.
True.
But that the spirit I get, but it's like that. It's just odd.
But there is more reasoning here, but it doesn't make any sense, really. But given that they revel at causing misery and suffering, it seems like having a hand in Nicodemus' agonizing fate would be enough to satisfy the pain-loving Negloshi parent.
But
that's not what the rent is, so who cares?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The rent is for good deeds. I mean, Nicodemus suffering for some people, with questionable ethics and morality.
That's cherry on top.
Yeah. Like, it does appeal to your sense of revenge for sure, but that's not necessarily like So like the angels, for example, they don't run around torturing people, not usually. So like, for example, good guys don't do those things.
Well, the other thing is, I mean, Gray is not he does good things, but his reputation is enough that fucking Michael is ready to shank him. I mean, he does bad things, and had Nicodemus been first on the draw, he would have been the bad guy.
Right.
So the implication here is that he does, whoever hires him, he'll do whatever they want, whatever they ask.
He is lawful neutral.
Which will then grant him the ability to act on his own.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He is lawful neutral because of the contract part, right? Because I was going to say he was true neutral at first, but yours is more accurate. But I think what it comes down to is what you have to do to secure his payment, right? I think Nicodemus would have been paying him in like actual $bucks or something of value, right? Whereas because he was doing a good thing for Dresden, it fulfilled another need that Goodman had. So he charged him an entire $1, because the good deed was the payment, right? The fact that he was fighting for the good guys gave him some metaphysical fuel source or something, right? Has been some of the speculation that, his free will and whatever is kind of perpetrated by that. But you're right? And that's the whole thing with like Monsters Incorporated or whatever, the spinoff is going to be, is that he is a bad person and he likes to do bad things, but sometimes he likes to do those bad things to other bad people. So it's kind of like a Dexter thing, right? Where it's like
within the constraints of his contract.
Well, that could be the other thing. If the contract itself, let's say for argument's sake, is the rent, you fulfill the contract. So good deed or bad deed, if his rent is you fulfill this contract with people, Dresden can't afford him, obviously, so $1 will cover it because we're doing the spirit thing. But someone like Nicodemus, who could afford to pay him $68 million based on what they take. It's if it's living up to the contract, if that's what it is that allows him to be both. I mean, if it's only good deeds that sort of pay the rent, then I feel like that sort of undercuts the idea of what he is just a little bit. Not because he doesn't do them, but because he is clearly a bad person based on not just reputation.
Well, my challenge with following you down that way is that, like, if all it takes for him to fulfill his rent is a contract, then what separates him out from just like a thug, right? Why wouldn't like Butters or some bum off the street go and be like, I would like to contract you for vacuum cleaning my house, because the contract is what's important, right? Like there's no barrier to entry there. There's nothing to set him apart as a total badass, like, shapeshifter and whatever, that his reputation kind of belies, right? So yeah, I mean, what I'm saying doesn't have any basis in fact either, but there's got to be a barrier of entry, right? And so that's where I'm like, the rent isn't going to simply be a contract, but what he's doing and how he's doing it might help justify, getting paid in dollary dues, or being able to.
Yeah, I guess the way I would describe it then is the contract is the framework, not the like, not that there's no limitations. Right. Doing it within the framework of this because that's what makes the most sense to him or is most applicable. But you still have to, like, if it's your contract, but you got to be involved in the game, quote unquote. Right.
Well, and I kind of like the idea that the contract is that kind of important, where it's like, like with Faye, like the contract is everything, right? Like that sort of thing. But for them, it's a balance, like it's a give and take, and it's a verbal contract. I kind of do like the idea that, in order for him to actually act, outside of just like your daily, everyday kind of stuff, he does need to be operating inside of a contract, right? And that more or less gives him power as well. I kind of like that idea. I'm just saying, like, there's probably more to it, right? There's still some other piece. Like, I don't feel like that's a full answer, but I think
it would have to have minimum requirements. I mean, the 3 times we've seen it, it's something supernatural related. So that seems like an obvious minimum requirement, right? Whatever those kids were in his short story, whatever, the stuff in Skin Game, and then this, because of, well, actually, I don't know, because he didn't know that Justine was, I mean, she's tangentially supernatural because she's surrounded by these things, but it's not like, he took that job not knowing and still not knowing that she was infected. So I don't, I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe it's enough that he's getting contacted by Dresden or somebody from the spooky side, right? That.
Or it is just, the good deed thing. I mean, his contract, that maybe is just his thing. And the good deeds one is the one that lets him do what he's doing.
Right. I got to imagine it's going to have to be touched in on his side, like his spin-off series if Jim actually gets that going. So, but.
I mean, he's an interesting character.
After he finishes this one, I don't want any more side books.
No, for sure, yeah. But hey, if he can put out 2 major books in like the next 4 months, like supposedly he is, then I'm down for it, man. I'll take 10 books of his a year if he can actually manage it. That's the thing. So
maybe he's got in his hands some of that Sanderson juice.
Listen,
right.
He's like,
this
is the
look,
kind
man,
of thing
I'm getting old. I need the clones.
I could see him doing this once, maybe twice, but this is not going to be a consistent thing if it actually happens.
Right.
He used to be pretty consistent with what was 2 books a year.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if that's his pace, that's his pace, right? It's just the one every like 3 to 5 years that's brutal. So
1 a year is
but
good.
it's not like
2
George
a
R.
year
R. Martin
was really good when he did that.
1 a year is fine because I don't read the other series. So
you shouldn't read Codex Alera because it's supposedly so awesome.
I should do lots of
Says the other guy who should read it.
Cinder Spire story you should actually read. That's a good one.
I'm not going to do that either.
This next idea is grayed out in terms of the it's spoilered. They did the thing so you hide it, you have to click on it. But the justification is 1 bullet point. We all know that Jim Butcher is a big fan of the law of conservation of detail, so it seems likely. So what do you think this spoiler is going to be?
Well, I've read it, so I can't guess.
Oh, yeah,
it's probably important to know in context that this isn't just some random ass thing. It's still related to what we've been talking about. So that does narrow the field quite a bit.
So EG's the only one who can guess.
Oh. Because we were talking about Gray?
Yes.
Oh, then he's going to be somebody's kid.
Of course,
that's yep. He's Shaggy's kid because we've only seen 1 Nagloshi, so he's got to be related.
No, he's going to be Shag Nasty's kid. That'll be it.
Yeah,
exactly. That is the entire idea. Like the that one is totally.
I mean, but that was like everybody's knee-jerk reaction. So that's the only other Nagloshi we've seen and get sort of named. It's like, okay, fine. And I didn't, my father's a piece of work too. So, okay, fine.
Yeah, but he could have been the one that ate a nuke either.
Mac is Uriel's kid. So, because we've only seen 2 angels.
No, Mac is Uriel. Do you read correctly?
Oh, he's Uriel's boss.
He is the Trinity.
The white god.
He's Uriel, he's Uriel's boss, and he's
Uriel's
the Merlin.
son.
He's the Trinity.
The son, the boss, and the spirit.
He gave birth to himself while giving birth to Harry.
What time travel paradox is that again?
Whichever I feel like it is.
Okay.
It's all of them at once. He's not bound to your tropes and paradoxes.
It doesn't need
it's so disturbing to hear EG talk like Alex.
That's like
we've run over. I am whoever I need to be to get through this.
There's only one more.
We got one more.
Yeah, it is. Pharaohvex is the dragon from Beowulf.
Yeah, but it's like, all right, so that's literally based on what we just got.
Yeah, right.
So fine. Okay.
Maybe. Sure.
Yeah.
He's also probably the world serpent. He's also probably.
I like that idea better. It's like, no, dude, we fucking killed that dragon. Who cares about that guy? He was a little D dragon. This guy is going to devour the world if you stop watching him. I only got 1 eye, and guess where I'm looking.
That actually makes a lot more sense in context of the story and the stare off and everything. I like that a lot more.
Yeah, well, that and he's Pharaohvax, right? Like, that's his whole thing. He's the Earth.
Oh, listen, he gets introduced and says, "My form would crack, the earth you're standing on." So it's like, all right, I'll take your word for it.
That must be it. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was 1 folder on the Dresden Files Characters Wild Mass Guessing TV Tropes page.
We're going to do this forever.
That was Mortals and Misk, so the rest are probably going to be longer.
We've got 6 more to go, guys. How exciting is that?
And that's just in the characters page. Holy fuck.
Yep.
Oh
There's
my
so
God.
many bad takes.
This is actually going to be worse than alignments. Because this is never ending.
This is lovely.
And still, you brought an alignment into this episode.
Content! Woo!
Very, very short, accurate description. So.
All right, listen, hey, people out there still watching us, you're gonna get to see us shit on people for the next 3 months. So
if you don't like what we're doing, I mean, first of all, you should give us feedback so we've got something to line the bin. However, $50 and make a suggestion for a topic, and we'll take it into consideration.
Where's that gif of the suggestion box going right into the shredder?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's right under my fax machine. So if you fax me your complaints, so.
All complaints will actually go to Andreas because he wakes up first in the world. So send them all to him.
I mean, my sleep schedule's kind of scuffed, but I guess I do.
His Reddit is Syntax Murph on the Dresden Files.
Your sleep
subreddit,
schedule
so...
is scuffed. Is that kind of like some of these theories are jost? Are we speaking the same language still, or
you don't know scuffed? That's an expression.
No, we don't live in communist Russia.
I don't speak Dutch. How many times have we had this conversation?
Come on.
We're picking on you, dude. You're feeding right into it. So, yeah.
And then we said, Justin's dying on a hill that Fifth Element is a perfect movie next time?
Yeah, I'll throw myself on that pyre. Easy, man.
Because we don't remember who actually suggested it, and then we just chose it. It's like, so someone's going to take the blame.
You know why we don't remember? Because everybody agrees that it's a perfect movie. So none of you guys could think of no, I don't like Fifth Element. So that's why
I think it's a very good movie. Whether or not it's perfect, we'll see when I rewatch, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of stand on that. It's like maybe.
See, I've only ever seen it once or twice, and I never understood the big deal. But
my suggestion yesterday, though, that's a banger. That's a good movie.
I came away from that movie decidedly meh.
Decidedly wrong.
I don't even remember.
Well, should we wrap up? Do we have any outro stuff we want to say?
Well, I don't know. Do we?
Join us next week when we talk about Fifth Element, and join us in 2 weeks for more TV tropes. I've been your host, Skeletor. Bye.